And now we are live. Okay, so anyone that has a need to catch us on YouTube can do that. So, Michael, are you relatively new to this?
I am. I'm kind of speeding up here the last few weeks to get through some of the material. I've been working my way through the MOOC and got the Spock activated recently. So that's kind of where I am. Class starts next week.
Okay.
Same here.
Okay. And my class just started this morning. All my attempts to change the end date in Studio were not showing up on the course itself, so it had my course end date being April of 2013, and it wasn't letting students access it. So I'm not sure if that's resolved. I haven't had time to check, but just beware of that possibility. I'm assuming that, you know, if it's something fixable, it'll be fixed today. But if you haven't, you wouldn't notice it unless you tried to sort of go live and let some students without administrative access.
So it's overruling the end date that you set for it?
Well,
yeah,
not overruling it, like ignoring it.
Ignoring it, okay.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing. I changed the setting for the end date, and then the welcome page still shows the April 2013 end date. I don't know whether students can access the course or not because I haven't invited them yet, but I'm seeing the same problem with the end date not changing.
And it's an inference on my part to say, well, maybe that's what's causing them not to be able to access it. So they could access the course. They got like the course summary and, you know, that history, which I want to get rid of because it has to do with the MOOC, but they were not able to access the courseware. And when I tried again this morning, it seemed like it was working, but I didn't get any official like feedback from edX. So, like I said, that's just my news.
I don't know if this is relevant. A few days ago, I was working through the MOOC and I wanted to submit the first homework, and the AutoGraders aren't there when the course isn't going. So I went to my course and I just changed the due date for homework 0 to August 15th, and it's still set now, and I could submit that, and I switched over to student view, and it looks like that due date just for that one assignment's changed. So. Oh
yeah, yeah. And I've been using. I mean, you know, I've used the Spock for like 2 or 3 semesters.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was. You know, I know what's stable in it. And it was my sort of cavalier attitude. It's like, oh, just like the evening before the course, I can just like make it available. And I was just surprised that I was having some issues. But normally that kind of stuff has been working pretty well. And when Sam is around, if there's problems, especially with the AutoGraders, he's real good about like nosing around and restarting them if necessary, or contacting edX if it's an edX issue. Okay, so. Is there anything outside of the agenda, or else I'll like try and do a screen share on the agenda and we can go through that. And I'm going to try and keep this not terribly long today because I gotta still prepare for my next class.
I understand. Any news from Sam on whether he has updated the book and whether there are plans to update the videos? I asked him and I haven't heard anything.
Right. What he told me, I mean, I would have replied to that, but I thought that that I mentioned last time.
Okay.
That's what Sam told me, and your message was specifically to Sam, so I was like curious if you get anything new. But if he's not,
I haven't heard anything.
You know, I'm using what he gave me, and I think as time passes, and like more people start to use it, he's going to be, you know. We'll just go with what we have. So I'm doing that. And
it looked like there was a July 2014 revision date on the book.
Yes.
I think I saw that somewhere. Okay, so he finished that. And I can tell my students to buy the book.
I would say that. It looked, you know, like until someone actually buys it from Amazon and the print version and gets it, You know, that it's still, you know, I'd say it's still open, but I think that they should be shipping the new version. There's no reason they should send the old one. And the Kindle stuff, you know, here's what I tell my students is, you know, I encourage them to buy the hard copy, but I say, look, from the first day, just go download the Kindle version. The first chapter is free, and that'll keep you, you know, going for the first couple of weeks, at least the way that I teach it. So they don't even have to invest in anything. So I'm not saying that as an alternative to what you're telling them, but I think that has some value just because they don't even have to, you know, if they say, oh, they don't have a credit card or they don't know this or that, they can just get the first chapter for free.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So, oh, Mike. Okay.
Yeah, I found the agenda recently.
Yeah, and I have some of the same questions, so.
Okay.
I think we're all new, so we all have the same questions.
I mean, what I did is, you know, here's what I do. I go through and I try and just use my, you know, wits to edit out anything using Studio, anything in the Spock that I don't want. And I'm going to have to do that again for the first time. I haven't even got to it, but a lot of the stuff that Sam has, you know, some of that stuff may not be applicable to me, and it just is a question of editing. And on particular things, some of them can be a little bit tricky to find the right spot to edit. The Studio isn't particularly user friendly, but when it comes, so I don't really have general advice other than like when there's a particular thing you get stuck with that you want to get rid of or change and you can't figure it out, you know, then ask about that. One of the main thing that I do is I'll go through all the top level sections and just move the you know, release date like a year in advance or whatever. And that essentially, that's the only way that I found to hide all the sections. And then, you know, then I'll change the dates, you know, as necessary throughout. It is, haven't found a convenient, non-cumbersome way to like really edit and move things around. So I'm going to try and do that as little as possible. But, you know, I'm going to look at things even tomorrow, and I'll see what I come up with, because I can see some of the things that he has students do, like for example, the electronic pair programming. I'm not going to be doing that the same way he is, so I got to edit that out and maybe remove the section and so forth. So we just need to stay on top, you know, help one another. If there's any issues, we can use the mailing list, and I don't know whether this Hangout or, you know, other kinds of Hangout, you know, the best vehicle for that. But, you know, I'll be available, and, you know, and this, you know, Sam has always been a go-to person, but, you know, we'll make do until he comes back.
So I had a question on sort of these higher level topics for the Spock. So, for example, the pair programming on air. Is everybody pretty much not doing that? I mean, certainly you could set up a community and try to do it that way.
I'm not doing that.
I'm not going to do that as an assignment. When my life settles, when like all my copier jams get cleared, so to speak, I will look at that and see. You know, I would like to encourage students to work not only in classroom together, but outside of classroom. And that is one vehicle. You know, I basically have just tell him, hey, use Google Hangout. So I would just need to see if he has anything set up to make that easier, and then I could encourage them as an, you know, optional thing.
And then the other one was they've got the chat room set up, and it looks like that's specific to our individual classes. Have you guys been using the chat room or encouraging the students to use the chat room?
My class hasn't started yet.
Yeah. I would say see how that goes. That chat room was put in about a year ago by, I think, a Berkeley student as a PhD project, and it, you know, has been on and off, but I think it's there and I think it works, and you know, I'm happy. I'll give you, you know, if you remind me in some way, I will see as my course goes live this week if there's any problems. But basically, my attitude is if it works, great, and if it doesn't, we make a note of it, maybe try and get it fixed, and none of that stuff is, the chat for me isn't critical for sure.
Because we were using it in the MOOC and it was fine.
Okay, then my guess is it's likely it'll work.
Yeah, I was just, of course, my worry is, is this something that, going to be another thing that I have to remember to check into myself? So I was just curious if anybody had been using it and had any experiences with it.
Yeah, that was my problem with it, is that I never got into a mode of like looking for it. So I found my students in previous semesters were communicating with each other, and I wasn't like paying attention to it. But I have a little flag in my head to look at that, just to say if anyone's online and anyone needs help or wants to start a hangout, that would be a good way to go.
Now, what about the discussion forums? When I click in, it takes me to the discussion forums from the past offering of the class with all of the questions and stuff from there, which seems like it might be kind of confusing. And I noticed the Berkeley class, they were saying they were using their own discussion forums rather than the MOOC ones.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be too much of a help with it. What happened? Sam is braver than I, and Sam really, used edX to run his entire course. I was chicken, and I basically used edX to deliver the videos and for the AutoGraders. And I used our own internal Moodle system for, announcements, discussion. We have our forums on there for assignments that were outside of the AutoGrader and all that other stuff, because that was a known quantity to me, and I was afraid to put all my eggs in the edX basket. So I haven't used the discussion forum there, and but I'm sure Sam has, and how to clear it out. Is something that you'll have to figure out and report back.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that frustrated me with some of these settings is that some things, like the wiki, you could just say hide. But with the discussion forums, and there was the chat, and there was another sort of online help chat room thing for delete.
Yeah, I missed some of what you said, but my experience is some of the stuff, I may be practically repeating, some of the stuff is easy to hide, and some of it wasn't so. And I just may do.
They're going to be using Moodle and the Spock.
Yeah, and so what?
And the course syllabus, and I've in the past.
How? I sort of lost your audio. Can I hear from anyone else?
I lost it too.
Okay, so it's not.
Yeah, I'm for some reason I'm in my office now, and the wall Ethernet connection is apparently no longer working, and the wireless is spotty. So.
Okay, so just you started to say about the various vehicles between the.
Yeah, do you guys actually just delete the discussions? Because it doesn't seem like there's a way to hide some of these things. So I either have to just remove them from the class completely or leave them in.
Yeah, my attitude is I do whatever's necessary, and I don't have off the top of my head for each one. I will be going through this. I meant to do this, complete it yesterday and didn't finish. So I think tomorrow, very likely, I'm going to, my first goal will be to fix up the Spock. So I will be, at least, not that I'm any more ingenious than anyone else, but I'll have just be a point of reference as far as what I was able to do, and I'll try and be good about taking some notes. I was able to hide this, not able to hide that, and so forth, so we can stay in touch about that.
Oh, that'd be great.
What do y'all think?
By the way, before we move on, if anyone, I'm really pressed for time, but if anyone is taking any kind of notes, other than obviously we're recording this, but any kind of to-do items, if any one of you want to sort of volunteer to follow up just on these kinds of things, just as reminders, even to put it at the bottom of the agenda, I'd appreciate it. Okay. Michael, or do you have the time to do it?
Yeah, I'm not taking too prolific notes, but I can.
Well, or just work out among, maybe even after I leave, if it gets done, just to remind everyone. The only reason I singled out you.
It's because I filled up the agenda. So.
Because you filled up the agenda. I know you can edit it. Someone else I thought said they were having problems editing it.
Well, worked for me. So.
Okay.
Survival of the fittest.
Okay. Any advice using a Spock in a flipped classroom? How to make this? Yeah, I have to look through the instructors only. That's like a big issue for me. How best to use the classroom time, and I would love to talk about it. I probably, we should probably set up like another time. Right now, this is in the middle of the day for me. But any Monday, Wednesday, or especially Friday, I'll have time, and we can like brainstorm outside of this.
Great.
But what in a nutshell, I try and expand on some of the points of the lectures. I don't try and replace or replicate. Maybe add some things. Like I'm thinking, maybe nice to talk like about regular expressions. Some, for instance, I like to talk about like how to really use the virtual machine to edit Ruby code, because I think that's like that whole like development cycle. There's like really some basic stuff that it took me a while to figure out just on my own. There's like a load command in Ruby, so I could edit and then load, and that's not mentioned anywhere. So I have my own hints on that. And then I use about half the classes and let them come in and bring in their laptops and try and like work on things, hopefully in pairs.
Good ideas, thank you.
But there's a lot more. I've had this same question for 2 years, and
Yeah, I mean, it's silly not to use the videos or to pretend they don't exist or to pretend students can't register for the MOOC and see all this stuff anyway. So it's gotta.
Right. Although Janet Berg, you were planning on not using the online lectures, right?
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm planning on lecturing using their slides. I'm not going to hide the videos. And then depending on how things go with the class and timing, if it seems like the students would rather do more things in class and watch the videos outside, we might change that around. But the last time I did a flipped class, I just felt too disconnected. So I think, and that's kind of the danger is, and I think it's even worse because the material is so new to me. I think that would just make that part even more, which I know it seems kind of strange to say that I feel like I should lecture more because it's new, but I think that's going to be how it gets really solid for me, is to actually do that.
Yeah, it is the best way to make sure that you pick it up yourself.
Yeah, I'm just not that brave.
It's nice to have the, I haven't done a flipped classroom yet myself, so I'm a little nervous about that. But I think at least, it'll just provide like a backup catalog of material for students that miss stuff or fall asleep or whatever. They can always go back and watch. But it could give us a little more freedom to use some class time for things we might normally not. But
yeah, I tend to be a slower and more interactive lecturer, so I could not get through the material, even if I knew it well. I could not get through it as quickly and as efficiently as the lecture. So I'm like happy to have that as a resource that they can stop, pause, re-listen to, and then just add on a few of the things that I have more expertise. But to each his own on that. And then the last thing on this, these are all like normal, reasonable questions. Are you aware of this site? Let me see if I can. Is that showing up?
Oh, I've never seen that site.
No, that's not. That's not the one that I meant. That's actually that has some interesting resources. I thought it was, let me see, it's like sites. There is a whole body of information here, if this is showing up. And this is something I think you have access to even without a login. Some stuff will be hidden. Is that showing up? Yep, it is. So that was sort of our old home. And if you see, as I scroll through this, there's information on the homeworks here. There's, all our meeting notes that have been going on for a long time. So this is where we did it every meeting. There's a bunch of quiz information that Sam has contributed to, which is in addition to what's come from Berkeley. And as I said to some people, I have my own set that I haven't shared that I created in Moodle. Both some quiz questions, and I have questions on each lecture that I give them in an online quiz. And that's just a question of like pulling together and sharing that among ourselves. I have some TA resources I may be able to help for that. But
Richard, I would love to see what you've been doing with your class, and I'd like to know where could I share what I'm doing or get feedback if I want to try something different. Is the Google site the place to do that? Should I send email?
Right. See, that's the problem right now with Sam away. We were looking at moving into this Agile Ventures thing that he set up.
Okay.
But all this information is still in the old site. So that was sort of before he disappeared from the face of the earth. It was like, oh yeah, we got to think about that. I remember an email to that effect. So I would say here's, look to the Google sites for the stuff that's there, and where to, and we can keep adding to it for now if that's the best place. We did want to try and move to Agile Ventures. I don't really know that much, administratively about what would be involved in, like, porting this over and so forth. So I would sort of like to wait for Sam to get back to decide on that. But definitely, especially if we have edit access to BetaSaaSers, we can use that in the interim. So I think we just need to use the email list. I've been ignoring it a little bit because I've been busy, but I'll try and be more attentive to it, and especially if anyone is yelling for help. And we just got to figure out the best way to organize this. It's sort of Sam was doing some of that organizational role, but he's also been very, very, very busy. So anyone that wants to make a suggestion and say, let's do this or that, I think others will follow along. So, and I could do, like, for instance, it would be like no problem for me to just do like practically a screen capture, a screen dump of, let's say, my chapter 1 quiz. But to do them all, if I'm going to go through that process, I want to figure out exactly how to do that if we're going to take the time to do it right. Okay, anything, what else for talking? Is anyone hearing me?
Yeah, we got.
Okay, good. Everyone got quiet. I felt like I was in my normal classroom.
We were hoping, at least I was hoping for a better answer to what to do about sharing quizzes, but I can live with muddle along until Sam gets back.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, okay, here's the, Sam has the stuff there. So if you said, hey, I really would like the chapter 1 quiz or something like that, I'm happy, and you need it soon, I'm happy to post it. Here's here's the history with that. Armando had come up with sort of a Ruby skeleton for automatically generating sort of quiz questions. And if you put it in this format, the idea there was going to be some quiz generator and a question bank and all that stuff. Well, putting it in that Ruby format is going to be a bunch of work. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I just never got comfortable that was really there enough. See, what Sam did is he just put it in as pages.
Text
And
is great.
That's all fine, but that doesn't go into the question bank and automatic and reformatting stuff. So I just so that's what's held me back a little bit, is like not knowing like where should I spend my time and effort. But
of course, if we're giving quizzes in person in our classes, then all we need is the text. I figure it's our own responsibility to get that in a form that we'd give to our students.
Well, sure, but if someone were really generating, having
I'm not even sure I want to use multiple choice, for example.
Yeah. So I would say, like, if there's something that you'd really like to see, let's ask for it. We'll share it on the sites if until we know a better place, and then we can move from there. I'm just not, I just have had too much going on with my class starting up to be in a big decision mode now.
I understand.
Yeah.
Stringing along here.
Hey, Richard, real quick, I think the question I was asking I was looking around the Google Drive folder. I don't know if you guys can see this.
Mm-hmm.
But the instructors folder, there's like this quizzes and exams folder, and then there's some stuff from Berkeley. And then this README, though, this is what got me interested. The README says, like, the questions come from the question bank. And when you click that link, you get 404'd. And so I didn't know if there was like just a bank of questions that we could find somewhere, if that moved or whatever. And I'm not sure how old this documentation is.
Right.
But that's kind of where I saw that and what piqued my interest in that.
Right. And that's what I was alluding to, is that they were, talking about doing that, and they may have in fact done it, but I never got, totally on board with it. And see, the way this used to work is Armando. This was a bi-weekly teleconference that Armando and Dave were involved in, and they were the ones we would ask what's the status of things, and then as Sam got more involved, he's sort of been running them. So I don't know what decisions have been made. So these are all the sort of questions to compile.
Yeah.
And put it out as as an email, and we can just try and answer them. I mean, it's not like there's some official authority. It's us.
Yeah. Thanks for standing in the line of fire today.
Yes, thank you.
Which mail list should we be using? There's two of them, and I'm still trying to sort out which one is which. There's the one for the beta early adopters. I think that's you and some others. And then there's two groups. I forget what they're called.
BetaSaaSers, the mailing list?
Yeah, so there's like, come here, what is it? Yeah, the beta engineering, and then there's the e-SAS instructor.
Right. If anyone remembers, I'm hoping someone else does, because I remember there was an email relatively recently describing which was which, and the BetaSaaSers, I think, were the people using the edX and the SPOCs, and the e-SASers were maybe the ones just using the textbook.
Oh, okay.
But I could have it backwards or wrong. Does anyone have a recollection of seeing that email?
I saw the email. I'm looking for it.
Okay. I'm afraid to look for things because I'm not sure when I start fumbling around if it's recording all this and what it's going to show. So.
Well, right now we're seeing you, not your screen.
Yeah,
so.
I know, and I just wanted to see how I look. It doesn't look in focus.
A little fuzzy.
This is my son's webcam that I ripped off his computer early this morning.
Thanks again for taking the time on your first day in class to do this. I know that's ideal.
Yeah. So the main thing is this face-to-face is good for things that don't deal well with email, but so many of these questions are specific questions, and that may take some research and discussion. And so I'd like the email or maybe some better forum for raising these and resolving.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So the beta engineering is the instructors with the SPOCs, while the eSAS list is instructors using the book but not the SPOCs.
Right. Okay. So I had that. My guess was correct. Good.
That helps a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I pretty much just use the BetaSaaSers.
Cool.
And yeah, I don't know what's up with Sam. You know, I'm hoping it's good that he's sort of off the grid for a while, but you know, he said he would be off for a week, and then you know he's still in Japan presumably, but it seemed like he'd be more communicative. If this were my first time doing this, I would be freaking out. But I just am hoping or expecting that at some point he'll come back, and I know what problems have been problems, and I know things will work out one way or another.
Yeah.
And I'll do my best, to answer whatever I can in the meantime. I'm a poor stand-in for Sam.
Well, I'll commence freaking out then at your advice.
Okay. And some of you are starting next week?
Yeah.
Okay. So I will, I'll try and, if I see like no one else is answering and I think I can help, I'll try and be as attentive as I can.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. They're only computers.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have my class set up so that really not too much has to be working for me to get off the ground, because it's setting up the VM, it's working through Codecademy, it's just getting access to the Spock. There's a whole bunch of sort of activities that even if nothing is, if the Spock wasn't working, if any one thing isn't working, there's a lot of other stuff they can do.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Anything else for now?
I'm good.
Okay. So I'll just about end this. If anyone wants to take it, incentive to put a little bit of to-do list and action items up there, that would be great.
I'll take care of it
at the end. Okay. So I don't know. Is Sayonara?
Well, we'll all be anxious to find out what we have to do to make our courses go live.
Say that again.
We'll all be anxious to find out what has to happen to make the courses go live.
If that bug that I was experiencing is still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll find out if there's any. I'll find out. Once I get off of this, that's some of the stuff that I want to be looking at. But I think that should be a short-term thing. I mean, it's not like this. We've been doing this over and over and over, so it's just an anomaly. Are you guys seeing the same early April 2013 end date that I was seeing?
I think that sounds right. I think that's just the last dates that the MOOC ended, right?
Well, the recent MOOC. No, see, that doesn't make sense, because the MOOC that he copied it from was the one that he used this summer. So that would have been a 2014 date. So there may have been something. It may have been edX software, and it may have been something funky in what he did.
It says release date of April 18th, April 25th, those kind of things. But those are release dates, so they go all the way down through May, and yeah, last release date for the last part is end of May, early June.
Of this year.
Yeah. And then there's stuff at the bottom for 2099 that's obviously hidden. But yeah, June 6, 2014 is the wrap-up final week farewell.
Right. Which means that's why I'm saying the April 2013 date.
Oh, no, yeah, these are all 2014.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's this kind of thing we can talk and talk and talk, and it just it'll just get answered and resolved.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Whatever our theorizing is. Okay, I will end this now. I'm expecting we'll be in touch via email, and then again next week, and hopefully Sam will reappear.
Sounds good. Thanks for stepping in to help. Appreciate it.
Okay, and anytime.
Thanks so much, and good luck with the rest of your first week.
Great. Thanks. Bye.
See you.
Bye-bye.